something different. Talking about a future, but I wonder what you picturing. All you do is run me in a circle, ain't forgiving it. I lost my time, then I lost my mind. You're the reason why I toss around in bed all night. Overwhelmed and suffocated all along those lines. Broken hearted every time you tell a lie. Yell mayday, I'm here. You got me falling down. I'm clearly distressed, but you won't make a sound. You choose all your efforts, you're up then you're down. This love isn't normal, it's killing me now. Feeling like I'm on a battlefield, I've been now on. First you tell me that you finished, then you said you wanted more. Every day is something different with you, tell me what you want. It's hard for me to reason when you barely wanna talk. Cause I've been on the low and I've been hurting every day. No matter what the story is, I never get it straight. I keep on going back to you, but shit just ain't the same. I think it might be better if we went and parted ways.
Sheesh. It's Stardust season. I need my check, man, he always gon' remind. I had to bust out some raps for the one time. Think I'm flexing, I only do sometimes. I need to be gas on my wrist like it's lunchtime. I had to bust out some racks. Show me they fake so I can't get attached. I'm a Carolina boy, now we up on the map. But it's Hershey a fan, I won't get off my lap. No, I'm the kid that just hop on the spaz on the track. Never lying, they know that's a fact. I had to bust out some racks. A girl on my line, but I never be here in the back. Bust on the road, but I got back on track. They be switching, I'm knowing the cap. I got back up so no I won't scrap. Can put us on safety, we pop like a strap. About to blow it, they hate it. About to chill cause these girls overrated. They say that I'm flowing, they put me on playlists. I be rocking off white like I'm racist. I do what I want with my life with the matrix. Be too deep in my thoughts, I be jaded. Forget your opinion, don't need to be graded. I play in that word, they didn't see, but I waited. Gotta hop in the store and go make a song. About to blow so they know we can make a bond. She be looking so bad without makeup on. By the hell, his wife's gonna be Genghis Khan. Need my check, man, he always gon' run it. Brody capping his rap, he ain't done it. I can miss you, I'm chasing this money. You work for a goal and they start acting funny. Whenever chase, I'm always with my dogs. Yeah, we can hang it for vibe is enough. I be rhyming all the time, taking off. RPX, I be dripping like Voss. Yeah, we be chill till these people get lost. She a baddie from Apex, she liking my style. I'ma need me a show to go light in the crowd. We be turning up lately, so what's going down? I need my check, man, he always gon' remind. I had to bust out some raps for the one time. Think I'm flexing, I only do sometimes. I need to be gas on my wrist like it's lunchtime. I had to bust out some racks. Show me they fake so I can't get attached. I'm a Carolina boy, now we up on the map. But it's Hershey a fan, I won't get off my lap. No, I'm the kid that just hop on the spaz on the track. Never lying, they know that's a fact. I had to bust out some racks. A girl on my line, but I never be here in the back. Bust on the road, but I got back on track. They be switching, I'm knowing the cap. I got back up so no I won't scrap. Can put us on safety, we pop like a strap.
So many thoughts I can't fit on the page. Fuck it, this shit, I'ma shit off the brain. She said she like how I put it together. I been ever so I step out like a plane. Yeah, we hit the block, get the cheddar. I keep the door and came up off a stain. I'm just tryna see more honest. Jump out the porch, get it anyway. Like that from my father, he went federal. They had him sitting, he ain't had no day for my body with toxins. Miss some medicine, that be the only thing he's in the pain. Say more money, more problems, just kept on my mom. Cause that money be making a way in life in the game, but I'm moving with caution. I work hard and go pick up deposits and go make a play, ain't no pausing. Gotta make sure everything fall in play like some pollen. She looked me in my face and told me she all in. I fucked her so good she can't walk out of crawling like somebody.
Yo, yo, yo. What is up? What is up? How's everybody doing tonight? Let's go ahead and mute this audio here. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Cure, brought to you by Real Time Fantasy Sports and Draft Hero. Coming to you live. This is Tuesday night, August 23rd, 2022. And we're here, boys and girls, and we are getting super close to fantasy football or to the regular season. So tonight on the show, we are going to break down, I guess you can say, Gatsby's wide receivers to target. I'm going to say this is around the – I really should have probably put this as like third-round wide receivers through sixth round to target. So basically, these are my top 10 wide receivers to target after players like Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, and even Keenan Allen. I just felt like those were – I'm not really helping anyone by telling you guys to draft those 4 wide receivers. They're kind of on the next tier up. Now, some of these we're going to mention tonight could, rise up to that tier after this season, and I do think that some of these players will indeed be drafted, obviously higher than their ADP suggests from this season. Doing well, Preston. Thanks for dropping in. What's up, Basil G? Todd Miller in the house. How are you doing, Mr. Waddy Ford? Good to see you, brother. We got 2 Eagles fans in the house, Todd Miller and Basil G. Those are 2 really good friends of mine. And Preston, thanks for joining tonight in the chat. If you're new, this is subscriber-only chat tonight because I want people to subscribe. Make sure to like the video and share as well. But let's get into it. So I dropped a TikTok. I created a channel. Been kind of working on that for a few days, but I dropped the number 10 Michael Thomas on. I dropped it on TikTok and kind of told a little bit about it and why. So I'll try to do that with each player. I'll try to give you my thoughts as to why, why I'm saying what I'm saying and why I believe that these players are the wide receivers that you need to be targeting rounds 3 through 6. Sometimes they fall later. Speaking of, at number 10, Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints wide receiver. Big body, 6'3", big frame. We all know his injury history, right? So, but the upside is, it's just hard to fathom not wanting to take a shot on Michael Thomas in some of your leagues, especially if you're playing the fantasy championship here at RT Sports. Michael Thomas could definitely be a guy who could take you to the championship. $500,000 to first place in that tournament, by the way. I know using the Draft Hero tool as well. All of our sources with, PFF and Fantasy Guru, Number Fire, all of the sources that we use, Draft Sharks, and all those, they're putting decent stuff out with Michael Thomas as well. Everyone understands the injury risk, right? Not really much to talk about there. What's up, Fozzie? How you doing, brother? Good to see you all in the chat tonight. But basically, the last time Michael Thomas played a full season, we're looking at 1,700 yards, 9 touchdowns. I want to say he scored somewhere above 350 fantasy points if you're playing PPR, scoring for your leagues. That was based on, a PPR league. But I just, Olave is going to be great. I really believe that. But he's a rookie. There's going to be a learning curve. I do think he's going to produce, no doubt. I think Jarvis Landry will produce as well. But when it comes down to it, Michael Thomas is indeed still, by a long shot, the best wide receiver on that team. Jameis is supposedly a lot healthier. Now, I know there is the news about the hamstring issue with Michael Thomas that was just dropped. They're saying it's nothing major. So make sure to tune in, to make sure that everything's good with that as well. But that's really my only concern, which is everyone else's is Michael Thomas with the injury stuff. So, there's some risk there, but definitely a high upside for what he can be. And, I'm just going to put this out there and say that I believe that he is going to be a top 15 wide receiver this year. Last night in my TFC draft, he went in the 7th round. So this is a guy that if he does stay healthy and he produces like he should, then, Michael Thomas could be, a second to third round pick again next season. Let me know your thoughts on that in the chat, guys. All right, we're going to move on to the next player at number 9. Number 9, we have wide receiver from the Miami Dolphins, Mr. Jalen Waddle. Second-year wide receiver out of Alabama, came on the scene last year. Wasn't really anybody competing with him with targets. Devontae Parker's always hurt. But just a really speed freak, unbelievable talent in Jalen Waddle. A lot of people knew he was going to be great. A lot of people drafted him last year, and this year, with the addition of Tyreek Hill, we've got a new coach with Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels is from the Shanahan tree. He definitely knows how to coach offense. Now, he was a run game coordinator for the 49ers for a while now, but all in all, I mean, he's been in Shanahan's back pocket for a lot of years now. What's up? What are you saying there, Todd? But anyways, Jalen Waddle is going to land at number 9 on my list here. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up RT Sports because I am going to talk about their current ADP and stuff like that according to the Fantasy Championship. Also on realtimefantasysports.com, rtsports.com, you can go there and they have a free draft guide constantly updating the ADP and auction values. Great news. Jeff Power puts out great information over there as well. So let's get to the ADP here. And by the way, kind of pinging back to Michael Thomas there, he's a 26th wide receiver off the board. He's currently going at the 57th position in your drafts. All right, so Mr. Jalen Waddle here at number 9, he is going. Sorry about that. All right, so Waddle we have going at 54. So he's not far away from where Michael Thomas is. Did I click on the right one? No, I didn't. Sorry, guys. I knew that looked a little off because I just looked at it yesterday. All right, let's try that again. All right, Waddle is actually going 44.85 in the fantasy championship. So he's in that area. If I can get this thing to work. All right, so he's going in the area around, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Gabriel Davis, Elijah Mitchell. Now, as you see this list go down, as we get to number 1, these are how I have them ranked. These are the guys that I would target. Now, if you think you can get a few of these guys, like, if you find another player that's higher on this list that goes later, to each their own. But these are the way I have them ranked, and these are kind of the way that I'm targeting them in my drafts. So again, like I said, players around him: Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Gabriel Davis, Brandon Cooks. He's kind of in that area right there. The Mike Williams, but Jalen Waddle at 9. Tyreek Hill's, going to be an interesting fit there with Tua. Tua does have a lot of chemistry with Waddle, and including last year, they kind of got used to each other very well. So I do think Mike McDaniels will use Waddle in some run plays as well. Not that much because, you could do the same thing with Tyreek Hill. But, he and Tyreek are both burners. It's like pick your own poison on which one you're going to guard each Sunday. They both have elite speed. They're both super fast, and they're both incredible talents. So I do think that Waddle, even with Tyreek Hill being there, will still produce plenty enough to suffice his ADP where he's going at this point. And I have seen him drop in some drafts to a little further. Sometimes he goes a little further down into the 50s. Honestly, in most of my drafts that I've been in. So when that happens, I'm really liking his ADP in that situation. So draft with confidence when you're picking Waddle, and I do think he's going to be a fantastic pick once again this season. And saying that too, so last season on Waddle, sorry you guys, I'm trying to get that pulled on there. So last year, Waddle had 104 receptions off 141 targets, 1,015 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, they're saying Tua is one of the most accurate quarterbacks And again, they do have chemistry going for a long time now. This is Waddle's second year. Mike McDaniel's creative offensive mentality. It just spells, all greatness for me. The 6 touchdowns won't be hard to replicate or even be above that. Now, I will say the running game in Miami the last few years has been pretty putrid. And that's one thing Mike McDaniels is going to want to do is fix the running game. But it's still, that kind of helps the offense flow as well. Not sure if he'll get 141 targets this year. I could see that coming down a little bit. But I still do think Jalen Waddle will catch at least 80 receptions. I think he'll still be around 1,000-yard mark, which would be about the same. And around the same touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he got more than 6 touchdowns this year. Just because the creativity and the added dimension with Tyreek Hill, and the actual will have a decent running game this year with a bunch of really good middle tier running backs. So that's where we're at on Jalen Waddle. Next up, coming to you at number 8, we got Mr. Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton. Let's see. Let me check the chat real quick. Preston, what were you saying he does? And you're not seeing a list. It's on the screen, Todd. It's on the screen, bud. All right, coming to you at number 8, we have Courtland Sutton. And again, comes with some risk, right? It was a very, very, very bad. Courtland Sutton was going pretty high last year in drafts. And everything just kind of bombed. Now, a lot of that had to do with the quarterback situation. The stalemate of an offense that those guys were running with Fangio, and none of it was good. So new coaching scheme, huge upgrade at quarterback. Just Russell Wilson's leadership in general, I think brings out the best in players. So I think Courtland Sutton, yes, he burned a lot of people last year, granted. And I understand the reserves. That's why he lands at number 8 here on my list. Now, Courtland Sutton's been going a lot of times lately, especially in the 3rd round. Oh, Preston, Jeff's a great guy. I think Jeff does really good work. I really do. I don't agree with all the rankings and all of that, but who does? Each person has their own opinions about things, but I think Jeff does a pretty good job, no doubt. And he definitely is stepping up the game with more content. Sorry, guys, I have to keep drinking water when I'm streaming. I've got to make sure to have gum or something in my mouth, because your mouth gets so dry when you're talking like this. All right, but number 8, Courtland Sutton. So last year's statistics, it's easy to tell the quarterback situation. He had 98 targets at 58 receptions. Not a very good catch rate from targets to receptions. Again, that's 99% on the QB play last year. It was absolutely terrible. He did still have 58 receptions, 776 yards, only 2 touchdowns. So all things are trending up in this situation. I was really reserved. I was not taking Courtland Sutton really at all when Tim Patrick was still in the mix. But Tim Patrick tore his ACL, and there's just not much behind them. KJ Hamler's kind of a different type of player. He's not really a Courtland Sutton type of player. So I'm not really worried about Hamler and what his production could be. I really think Hamler could take away from Judy more than he does Sutton, because just a different type of player. Think about Russell Wilson's, his situation with DK Metcalf. Now, I know it kind of flared off some last year, but I think we all kind of knew Russell Wilson was ready to get the hell up out of Seattle as soon as they signed Pete Carroll to that extension. I was definitely talking like Wilson was gone. Like, I just really felt that was the situation. And DK kind of became a diva to an extent, but DK sucked it up and did, finish with a decent season too. But long story short, there is some injury history here from 2 years ago when I believe it's his ACL that he tore as well. He missed the entire season. I was really on him. I had him in a pretty good bit of leagues that year. So that year really hurt me. I didn't have him near as much last year. But I am going to target him in some of my drafts this year just because of the upside. all things trending up. New offense, better scheme, more up-tempo offense. And I just think he's the best wide receiver weapon over Judy in that offense. 6'4", 215, 220, pretty good speed, can high point the ball. And, we all know Russell Wilson throws a good deep ball. So that's where I'm at and everything. RT Sports has projections here: 81 receptions, 1,206 yards with 9 touchdowns. Would not surprise me at all. And as a matter of fact, I believe he could definitely get double-digit touchdowns. But in all honesty, if I'm making predictions here, I think I would have dropped that down to about 7 or 8. Granted, it's going to be a much better offense, just a much better flow in general. So Courtland Sutton at number 8. Tell me what you guys think in the chat. Coming to you with number 7. Boom, baby. We're going Mr. Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney here at number 7. All right, so Mr. Mooney, Chicago Bears wide receiver. Pretty much the only known weapon at this time. Cole Kmet's going to be another good weapon. But as far as the actual wide receiver position, Darnell Mooney should get flooded with targets. Right now, Darnell Mooney is going 56.54 in the drafts. 81 receptions off of 140 targets, 1,055 yards, and only 4 touchdowns last year. So again, easily doable numbers again. I feel like his targets are going to be around the same, maybe even a little more as they continue to integrate young players into that offense. Now, I know they have a couple of rookies there, Velus Jones, and there's another one I can't think of his name right now. And, of course, Cole Kmet. You have 2 running backs who are very good pass catchers in Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. And of course, Justin Fields moves around the pocket too. Mooney really did a great job last year. I watched a lot of Chicago games because I did a lot of studying on Justin Fields last year. But Mooney does so well in space. Like, I'm super impressed with how when plays break down, how he uses space very well. Like, he's always conscientious of where he is on the field and where he needs to be. He knows the soft spots to kind of sit down and make it a little easier on Fields. Again, I think it's going to be a sleigh of peppered targets for him. I think he's a very good route runner, very smart young wide receiver. And so they're predicting him 91 receptions, 1,123 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I could easily see that happening. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets upwards 160 targets this season. And again, those numbers they sound pretty close to me as well. He's a small guy, get that too, 5'10", 5'11", about $180, 175. But he's never missed a game. He's never been injured. He's had a long career of longevity, like without injuries and stuff like that. So hopefully Fields can stay upright. I think Mooney will definitely be a red zone target, or he will be. I'm not sure I agree with the 9 touchdowns prediction here from RT Sports, but I would say 6 to 7 for sure. And just the amount of targets he's going to get or receptions he's going to get and he should have decent yardage. So I think he's well, going to match his draft position and all those things too. And that's why I have him here at number 7. Pretty safe pick in my opinion. A lot of it depends too. You got to keep Fields upright, hoping that Fields doesn't go down either. That's another thing to factor in when you're kind of thinking of that situation in Chicago. All right. Roll the dice, he says. All right, let's go to the next one here. We're going to go to number 6. We kind of just mentioned him a minute ago. Boom. Mr. DK Metcalf, wide receiver for the Sea Chickens, the Seahawks. All right, so we know the QB situation there. Russell Wilson is out. Looks like Geno Smith is in. And I will say Geno played pretty decent in that offense last year. They drafted a really good rookie running back with Kenneth Walker to kind of complement Rashad Penny. We all know Penny's health history with injuries and stuff. So I really feel like they have a lot of good talent at the running back position, which, hopefully will help the flow of the offense as well. Definitely just kind of predicated too on a ton of targets for DK. Um, Preston says, gross, gross. So this is DK's 4th year. Last year, 75 receptions, 967 yards, 12 touchdowns, but 129 targets with 75 receptions. Let me read some of these comments. No, these are top 10. These are the top 10 wide receivers that I'm targeting from rounds, I would say middle 3rd round to the 5th or 6th round. These are the wide receivers I'm targeting after Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and who am I missing? And AJ Brown. So, when you're coming back through the 3rd round, finishing the 2nd up the 3rd round, Mike Evans, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, and Michael Pittman Jr. Those are usually your 4 wide receivers off the board around that area. But that's where I'm at. These are my rankings after those wide receivers who I'm targeting and why. All right, so going back to DK Metcalf, he said and Drew Lock. Yes, Drew Lock's there too. But DK Metcalf is, the best big body wide receiver on that team. 6'4", 229, amazing speed, just an athletic freak. And I really think they're gonna try to involve him even more. He had the same targets as he did the year before. The only difference in the last year to the year before is he had eight less catches, but a ton more yards. So we'll see if he can get back track with his yardage. And, I'm hoping that DK, I guess you can kind of call him a vet status now. He's coming into his 4th season. Hoping he's learned to be a better pro about the situation. He did get paid his money and things like that. So, I do think his receptions, they've got him at 83 receptions, 1,097 yards, and 10 touchdowns. I mean, the guy's almost a lock for double-digit touchdowns. I don't think anything changes with that. Tyler Lockett's still there pulling coverage. You have Noah Fant as well, who can really run, open things up through the seam. And like I said, they should have a pretty decent running game. If they can just get superb or decent, middle of the ground quarterback play, which I think they can from Geno, I think DK will be just fine. And I know it's a risky situation with QB situation, but I think just targets, his frame, his size, he's such a huge weapon. I feel safe with him at number 6 on this list. And welcome to the channel, Brooklyn. What's up, Drew? How are you doing? So far, we've had Michael Thomas at number 10, Jalen Waddle at number 9, Courtland Sutton at number 8, and Darnell Mooney at number 7, and now DK Metcalf at 6. Well, that's kind of what we were speaking of on Todd. They've kind of addressed the running back situation. I mean, you got to understand, it's not just Kenneth Walker either. I mean, Alex Collins is back in the mix there. You have DJ Dallas, who's a very decent running back. Travis Homer put up some decent points when he was playing running back a few times. And then you still have Kenneth Walker, who's the rookie running back. And you have Rashad Penny, who definitely showed he can be an elite talent last year when healthy. Now, it's not about Rashad Penny in this segment, but, if that running game's, going fluid like it should, then I really think it's just going to keep opening things up. And as long as Tyler Lockett is in this offense with DK Metcalf, I feel super safe having DK this position at number 6 here on my list. All right, guys. Now look, I know a lot of people are going to have some disagreements here coming up on this next one. You guys are probably going to think he should be a lot higher on my list. But we'll try to talk through it, guys. And I'll let you guys tell me why you feel, if you think that he should be higher. Coming up next, number 5 on the list. Boom, baby, Mr. T. Higgins. Wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals. All right, let's talk a little bit of T. Higgins. T. Higgins has been flying up the boards. He is currently sitting at number 30. He's actually going ahead of Keenan Allen. He's actually going ahead of Keenan Allen in TFC drafts at the moment. We'll see what people are saying. Exactly. Another good point, Brooklyn. They will always be playing behind. That offense has been pretty putrid over the years. And yes. All right. So T. Higgins, we're gonna put fifth here on the list, which kind of tells you where I'm at. I don't have a lot of T. Higgins on my teams. I have to put him on the list just because, I mean, honestly, he should be on the list. I just don't. His ADP is very conflicting for me. I'll put it that way. That torn labrum that he had, that's a serious injury, and the way that players like he and other players like Mike Williams, those huge body wide receivers, they throw their bodies around, they come down, they land hard. I mean, it's just the injury risk waiting to happen. You also got Burrow, who hasn't exactly been the most healthiest quarterback through his tenure as well. I just have some reserves on Higgins going as early as he does. Listen, I'm not mad at it. If that's what you're doing, if that's what you believe in, there's a lot of good reasons why you are drafting him where you are. And listen, I'm with that too. It's just not my preference. It has more to do with ADP than anything about me and myself and T. Higgins. And as you'll see, there's just other wide receivers that I personally think are much safer and would like to target. But kind of looking at T's numbers from last year, 74 receptions off of 110 targets. That was a really good percentage from targets to actual receptions. He played 14 games, so he missed 3 games last season. 1,091 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, we know he can get some yardage in bulks. It doesn't take much. He can have 3 catches for 120 yards. I mean, that's kind of, T. Higgins, he's really about that. I'm a little scared about the torn labrum. The shoulder is a very interesting component when you're playing football. Usually as a wide receiver, when you get tackled high, your shoulders get hit. If you're high pointing a ball or jumping for a ball and you come down, you're usually going to land on some part of your shoulder. Things like that. So RT Sports has him at 88 receptions, 1,219 yards, and 9 touchdowns this season. Now, I totally agree with the 9 touchdowns. I do think his touchdown totals will go up. I mean, the most touchdowns T's ever caught in a season are 6. That's kind of confusing me too. I could see 9, maybe even double-digit targets. I think he's going to get a lot more targets in the red zone this season. I think they need to emphasize that because they're crazy if they don't. 6'4", 216, can jump through the gym. T was almost a college basketball player as well. But he kind of went with football, but he could have easily played college basketball. Probably could have been in the NBA as well, but he chose football. So I totally get that. Let me see your questions in the chat. Why is he so high on your list? What do you mean, Jay? Or were you talking to somebody else? I'm sorry. So long story short, I think with an emphasis on him getting more red zone work, Burrow being an excellent quarterback, hoping that his injuries healed and that he'll be okay for the season. If he plays, 17 games in that offense, I mean, he definitely should cover his ADP. There's no other reason why it's strictly on injury, and I'm just not a fan of his ADP. There's just other players that I think will have more opportunities and things like that. They do have Jamar Chase, obviously. They have Joe Mixon, and Burrow can spread the ball around as well. But I do think T. Higgins will get his spread of targets. What do you guys think about the prediction on here? 88 receptions, 1,219 yards, and 9 touchdowns. If that's the case, he definitely covers his ADP because you're looking at about That's what, 220, and you're looking at about 270, 280 fantasy points if that's the case. No, see, that's the thing, guys. Like, don't get confused about how this segment is. This is strictly who I'm targeting. Now, if T. Higgins were to fall and the ADP is, reflects that, and if for some reason he goes later, and I have seen it, if I'm able to get T. Higgins like in the fourth round or so, then I like him much better. Um, but like I said, I'm not a huge fan of his ADP, and that's got more to do with it than anything. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that's not a guy you should target. He's just fifth on my list, and it has a lot to do with the ADP. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And then again, his injury. Ty said he's still offended by DK Metcalf. All right. So again, I knew we were gonna get some fuss on that one. All right, coming to you next, guys. My number 4 person to target on this list, Mr. Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, coming from the putrid Chicago offense, going to one of the, I would say, maybe the top 3 offenses in the league, going to what's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback in Matt Stafford, one of the great offensive minds in Sean McVay. Just all things trending up for Allen Robinson. He seems really healthy this season. Haven't really had any issues with him in camp with injury, hamstring, soft tissue injuries. It's all looking pretty copacetic for Robinson. Right now, in the fantasy championship drafts, Allen Robinson is currently going. I can find him. Probably looked at him 10 times. He's going at 47.42. So he's going right behind Deontay Johnson, McLaren. He's even going behind Jalen Waddle, Gabriel Davis, in that area. So Allen Robinson, let's check out his last season. You can't really predicate anything off his last season. He only played 12 games, 38 receptions, 410 yards, 66 targets. So I mean, he was almost in a 50% target to catch radius there, which tells you, terrible quarterback play and just scheming offense. Stafford elbow does have a little nervousness as well, but I really think Stafford's okay. Stafford's not as young anymore. I honestly think they're just trying to let him cruise control through camp and monitoring his reps and things like that. I don't feel like Stafford really needs to learn as much. So I think that has a little something to do with it. I'm not too concerned about the elbow stuff. So elbow strong like ox. Nice, Drew. But Allen Robinson's coming in on my list here. Had some things written down for him. So let's just talk about even his last full season in Chicago. He had 151 targets. This was 2020, by the way. 16 games. He played a full season. 102 receptions off 151 targets. 1,250 yards and 6 tutties. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing that's intriguing is you think about Allen Robinson, 6'2", big. I mean, he plays bigger than 6'2". He's a big guy. He looks a lot bigger than 6'2" on the field. 220 pounds, like just a stud at getting the ball and protecting the ball. He's only had 7 touchdowns. Since 2018, he had 4 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, and of course, he had an injury-riddled season last season. So, I mean, all upgrades with that offense. Cooper Kupp's the guy, and he's going to, require a lot of scheming from defensives and their strategy and things like that. So, Allen Robinson, I mean, I think he's going to have a field day. Should be a huge wide receiver target. I'm not going to predict that he's going to get double-digit touchdowns. RTS has him at 84 receptions, 1,055 yards, and 7 tutties. I love the receptions. I think it's going to be somewhere between 80 and 90, so 84 is perfect there. I think his yardage could be a little more. They have him at 1,055 yards. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets a little closer to 11 or 1,200. And 7 touchdowns. I think they nailed it at the 7 touchdown mark. So again, if he does put up those type of numbers, he's going to easily pay off at his ADP. For the most part, I mean, Allen Robinson did miss that one season where he had, I think he tore his ACL when he's still in Jacksonville. But beyond that, I know he had some nagging stuff last year. But besides that, offense was a complete disaster. And I just feel like this was the best place any wide receiver if his caliber talent could have went. So tell me what your thoughts are on Allen Robinson at number 4 here. Again, he's going around the Jalen Waddle area. So again, this is why I have him higher on the list. Some people might want to target him way before that pick, and if you're talking about you're on the ends of the draft, if you're in the first draft position or the 12, and you have long stretches in between picks, you have to go with your players. There's no, if you follow the ADP, you're going to lose. You shouldn't follow the ADP anyways. But if you're following the ADP as far as like just drafting the next guys that come in that area, then you're probably going to lose from the 1 and 12 positions. You really have to mix it up, and you got to kind of go with your gut. You're pretty much going to be reaching on every pick. So it makes sense to kind of target a guy like Allen Robinson in those areas especially. I've seen him go as high as in the 3rd round. I've seen him go as low as in the middle to late 4th round. Pretty consistently, he's right around the 3-4 turn from what I've seen in most of my drafts. There was for a while there he was shooting up the ADP, going super early to mid 3rd round, but that's kind of flared off a little bit as well. So tell me your thoughts on Allen Robinson here at the number 4 spot on the list. All right, guys, going to the next one. There could be some reserves from you guys on this one too, but again, I'm going to try to talk through it with you. At number 3, we're getting to the top 3 guys. Boom. Not only he's your guy here, Mr. Deontay Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, baby. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. All right, so Mr. Deontay Johnson currently is going at the 43.56 pick in the fantasy championship leagues. He is going in the area of Terry McLaurin, Jalen Waddle, Allen Robinson, Courtland Sutton, DJ Moore, in that area. It's hard. It is so hard to not want to have Deontay Johnson. I understand the QB issues that they could have. Trubisky does have a very strong arm. I think he's very capable. And let's be honest, Big Ben has not been Big Ben in a few years now. It's hard to argue with 169 targets, 107 receptions, 1,161 yards, and 8 touchdowns last year. I think Deontay Johnson is even borderline undervalued at his ADP. There's no reason why you should have any flack about drafting him in his current draft position. That's why he's number 3 on my list. I feel super safe. He's played 16 games, 15 games, 16 games his last 3 years. The guy's pretty strong. I know he's another small wide receiver at 5'10", 183. I think he's actually a little bigger than that now. It's his 4th year. He knows the offense well. Probably the best weapon on that team. He and Najee, obviously. But Deontay is going to get peppered with targets still. They have, some young wide receivers. We'll see what Claypool can do. I know George Pickens has been kind of lighting it up, having a good camp. So I do think all those things will just help. And I think Deontay Johnson is a phenomenal route runner. He's very smart. He's great in space. He definitely knows where to sit down when playing those zones. And I see another great season from him. RTS has 102 receptions, 1,112 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I actually think his yardage is going to push over the 1,200 yard mark for the first time in his career. And I think his receptions will be anywhere from 100 to 115. I think his targets will be around the same amount, anywhere from 150 as high as 170 like they were last year at 169. Tell me what you guys think in the chat on Deontay Johnson. Could you trust the offense the last 3 years, Todd? I mean, it's the same. You can ask the same question. You know, Ben Roethlisberger was not. He couldn't move. You know, he had lots of struggles. And you know the quarterbacks that they have, I feel, are just a lot. Like I think Trubisky is definitely an upgrade in what they're used to having with. I think he's better than Mason Rudolph, and you know they have the heart and soul Kenny Pickett's there, the old Pittsburgh Panther. So I'm not sure if he'll get in on anything this year, but you never knew what was coming with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger only had 300-yard games all of last season, and Ben Roethlisberger looked like he didn't want to play anymore, and there's a reason why, because he doesn't have it anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think any quarterback that can throw a football is capable of throwing it to Deontay. I'm not saying Mitch is better than Ben. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying Mitch is capable. Mitch is definitely capable of running that offense. And I feel like they're going to do a good job. I mean, they do have studs at running back. You know, you have Najee and stuff too, so they'll keep it a lot more balanced. They're a lot more offensive minded than Nagy was. He was terrible. Yeah, I don't see how Deontay Johnson, how you still wouldn't be able to count on him for 10 plus targets a game. Freiermuth is another weapon. He's going to soften up that middle a little bit. I really love the tight end position there with Freiermuth as well. I don't really see a huge decline, a huge downgrade in the quarterback situation, Todd. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, we have to be honest. Like, I know Big Ben had a lot of great years, has a great mind, but I don't think production wise, I mean, he really wasn't cutting it the last few years. So, I don't see a huge decline from quarterback play, from Big Ben to these guys. And I think Deontay is definitely the weapon that these guys are going to lean on once again. I think Freiermuth will help, like I said again, and the running game will be okay. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at on it. Can we kind of agree on the Big Ben situation, guys? I mean, I know Todd's kind of talking about it, but what do you guys feel? Pickett's greater than Mitchell. I mean, he's probably going to end up being greater than Trubisky is, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Trubisky was the number one overall pick for a reason. Now it was a bad pick. I mean, he shouldn't have been number one, but he does have some athletic attributes about him that if he can just get his mind right, some confidence built in him, I think he's capable of running that offense. Now we'll see where it takes him. We'll see how that goes. It is, and you know what, Drew? I think that's a fair comment. It's suspect to me as well. I guess I've watched enough of that offense to know that Big Ben was not good at all, and he caused a lot of the issues with he couldn't move. I mean, it was like a QB that had center blocks, attached to their legs. He just couldn't move. But that's one thing, like Mitch can move around a little bit. He can get out of the pocket. He's pretty good at making throws on the run. Pickett's kind of similar in that. So, I mean, I'm definitely glad that they got Kenny Pickett, that he's could be in the situation as well. And I just think it's, it could be a decent situation there. And it doesn't deter me away from Deontay. Like I said, 169 targets and not much changing within the offense except for Big Ben. which, again, he had, I think, 200-300-yard games last year, so it's not like he was just incredible and OMG, like, these guys will never, be able to duplicate that. So, super safe for me. It just has safety. It's like a safety thing for me with Deontay. So that's why he's at number 3, guys. All right. Here's where we're probably going to get into some disagreements. We're going to see. Deontay was borderline between 3 and 2 for me, and you'll see why on the next pick. And we'll talk about that more too. Coming at you at number 2, guys. Boom, baby. DJ Moore. Mr. DJ Moore. Okay, Todd, that's exactly agreed. He'll get that load of targets, and his skill is massive. Yes, sir. You just made my point, and we will all agree that we're a little nervous about the quarterback play. Totally agree. I think we're all in agreement there. We all know what kind of wide receiver that Deontay is and his skill set. All right, coming to you now, number 2, DJ Moore. All right, DJ Moore is in another interesting situation here. A lot of the same reasons why, but even more why I like DJ Moore more and more is because the quarterback upgrade, in my opinion. I think Baker is just a lot better quarterback situation for DJ. The offense in general, Christian McCaffrey's back. He's healthy. Robbie Anderson, I think, finally is going to settle in and make a home in this offense this season. We'll see. They still do have the young player in Terrace Marshall as well. A little better on the O-line they should be this year. And if anything, I think Baker's skill set matches that offense really well. And Baker loves a lot of the underneath guys who are open. DJ Moore is a massive talent. 5th year, 6 foot, 210, runs phenomenal routes. Played all 17. He's played 16, 15, 15, and 17 games. He's health-wise, he's as good as it gets. He's a super safe pick as far as injuries. 93 receptions, 1,157 yards last year, and 4 touchdowns. So the touchdown situation for me, I think, is going to get better. He's caught 2 touchdowns and then 4 touchdowns each of the last 3 seasons. If he gets that 4 number into the 7s, I mean, you're talking about easily a 2nd-round pick next season. 163 targets. I do think that's going to come down just a little bit, but I'm thinking easily 80 to 90 catches. I think his yardage is going to be around 11 to 1,200 yards, and I'm going to go up on his touchdowns to 6 or 7 this season, which screams value at his current ADP. I just really love the team that they have this year. I think they can make a little noise with Baker at the helms. Let me see here what you guys are saying. I'm assuming you have both Eagles wide receiver. No, Basil, but I do. But AJ Brown is in a higher tier. Yes, I did say that kind of before we were talking about this. And I do have some honorable mention players that we will talk about too, guys, once we're done with this list here for a minute. He said you were too confident. So tell me, guys, what you think about this situation with DJ Moore. I love it. I mean, he had a massive uptick in targets last year. His yardage, I mean, I think his YPC is definitely going to improve, his yards per catch. So, I mean, he had a mixture of QBs last year, but I do think Baker's is probably the best quarterback he's played with. We all know ever since Cam Newton had that shoulder stuff, like he just hasn't been the same with throwing the ball. So I'm not even. It's not even against him or anything. It's just a fact. Darnold had some spurts, man, where I thought he was going to turn it around, but he kind of gets in his own way too, and I'm not really sure. But everything's trending up for DJ Moore. I think it's insane. I think DJ Moore honestly could be probably should be a 2nd-round pick. To me, I feel probably just as safe as him as I do with the Pittman, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, and those guys, which is why I have him at number 2 on my list. RT Sports has him at 92 receptions, 1,231 yards, which I totally agree with. I like the uptick in yardage there. and 6 tutties. They also have him at 6 rushes for 51 yards. So he gets, a few rushes a year as well. Not sure if that's going to change much. I really don't see that. All right, guys, coming up on number 1, baby. And this one right here is, I know people are gonna have some disagreements probably, but this is where I'm at with this player, and I'm really very high on this next player, and we'll talk about him. Coming to you next, this is the top 10 wide receivers for rounds 3 through 6. After the A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr., and Keenan Allen players, number 1 on my list is, boom, Mr. Mike Williams, baby. Just call him a beast. I don't know what else to say about that. All right, Mike Williams lands at number 1 on my list, guys. Huge wide receiver, huge frame. Mike Williams, his current ADP is 41.56 in the fantasy championship. He's going around guys like DJ Moore, Courtland Sutton, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Jalen Waddle, in that area. I think Mike Williams could possibly be a early second round pick next season. Listen, I know Keenan Allen's a stud too, but if they both play all season long, I'm predicting Mike Williams will outproduce Keenan Allen this season. I really think that's going to happen. He was close last year. Mike Williams finished 13 overall in wide receivers and fantasy football points scored last season in a PPR format. Keenan Allen scored 11. He was 11th in total fantasy points PPR setting last year for wide receivers. So they were super close last year. I think Herbert throws a beautiful deep ball. All things continue to trend up for me with him. There's a little reserve. Again, I'll kind of go back to the T. Higgins segment. He's one of those wide receivers at 6'4", 220 pounds. High points the ball a lot. He goes up, lands kind of awkwardly at times. You're kind of like, you really don't like him hitting the ground like that. But, injury risk is pretty much with every single player. I think Williams is a stud. He has great speed. He has a great quarterback. They're in a great offense. They have other great weapons. It's not like he's going to be double and triple teamed, especially not when you have Keenan Allen. They also have added Gerald Everett. You have Eckler and a slew of running backs back there. Just the scheme in general has a lot to do with Justin Herbert, guys. Last season, he had 16 games, 76 receptions on 129 targets, 1,146 yards. So he crushed his ADP last year. I actually had Mike Williams on a ton of teams. I'm still drafting him this year as well. I think he's really got things figured out. Herbert should just keep improving. Their chemistry is going to continue to grow. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Williams takes over as the number 1 fantasy producing wide receiver in that offense. I know Keenan Allen still gets peppered with a ton of receptions. I think so. RT Sports has him at 79 receptions, 1,224 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think we're going double digit this year, baby. I think he's going to hit double digit touchdowns this season. I think around the 12 to 1,300 yard mark is fair. They have him at 1,224 and 79 receptions. I think I would push that up into the 80s. So all in all, lots of things trending up there. Like I said, I do expect Mike Williams, if he stays healthy and everything, I think Mike Williams will be a second-round pick next season, which is why he is killing it at this ADP that he's currently in. Listen, guys, I have seen Mike Williams drop into the late 4th rounds a lot as of late. And I think that is just insane. People draft Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert, people draft him as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in every single draft. I mean, it's definitely not just about Keenan Allen. So Mike Williams is the guy. Tell me what you guys think about number 1 here on my list. Again, guys, don't get this segment twisted up. These are the wide receivers that I'm targeting in my head, in my drafts, in my order, that are behind, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman Jr., and even Keenan Allen. I've actually taken Mike Williams over Keenan Allen in some of my drafts. I've seen some other people doing that as well. It's also hard to pass up Keenan Allen because he is a reception hog. But I do think for the first time, I do think this season that Mike Williams will finish ahead of Keenan Allen in fantasy points produced this season. Herbert's just an elite talent, man. I'm super excited. They're going to be in a lot of high-scoring games. Yes, they've done some things on their defense, but I saw J.C. Jackson had to have some procedure done, I think, today. So he's going to be out. He could possibly be out week 1, but you have the Broncos, you have the Chiefs, you got the Raiders. They play a lot of other high-powered offenses this season. So I think a lot of shootouts are still on the table for a team like this. Nice, Todd. So Todd said he'd rather have Williams than Keenan. Okay, I'm with you. So tell me what you guys think on that part there. And again, yes, his ADP is very complicated. And again, this is kind of why I produced the segment out too. Sorry guys, I have to keep getting water. So this is why I have to keep throwing this out there. If you are on the ends in your draft, if you're at the 1 hole or if you're at the 12 hole in your draft, go for your guys. I mean, drafting just, where these players normally go is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere. You have to go with your guys. So, yes. Allen is 30 years old, and Allen had a very severe injury history earlier on in his career. So, I mean, that's always kind of there too. But I like your style, Brooklyn. But anyways, his Mike Williams, his ADP is very confusing because sometimes I will see him go mid-3rd round, and then in other drafts I won't see him go till almost the end of the 4th round, which is crazy to me. So if you can, pick your poison. If you got some guys that you got ranked a little higher than him that you think he might come around to the next round to you, I mean, it's a gamble. It's a gamble like that in every single draft. I really think he is one guy that you're going to be pissed off that you didn't get. Especially if he plays the full 17 this season in that offense. I mean, I really feel he's going to be a guy that we look back and say, damn, what were we thinking at that position? Like, why did I do that? So let's go back through the top 10, and then we'll mention some honorable mention. All right, at number 10, we had Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints wide receiver. At number 9, we had Jalen Waddle, wide receiver for the Dolphins. At number 8, we had Courtland Sutton, wide receiver for the Broncos. At number 7, Darnell Mooney for the Chicago Bears. At number 6, I had DK Metcalf, Seattle Seahawks. At number 5, I had T. Higgins, wide receiver for the Bengals. At number 4, I had Allen Robinson, wide receiver for the Rams. At number 3, Deontay Johnson, wide receiver for Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming in at number 2, DJ Moore, wide receiver for the Panthers. And at number 1, Mike Williams for the Chargers. Now, I want to mention this honorable mention list. There were 5 or 6 other. This was hard to put together. Michael Thomas was extremely hard for me to put on this list. So was Courtland Sutton, guys. I have a ton of reserves about Courtland Sutton, like I really do. As bad as that team was last year, like why the hell he only produced what he did, as an elite talent as he is, why did he still only have 2 touchdowns? I mean, it kind of goes back to the DK segment there. Like DK's been in some shitty offenses too. As far like when Russell went down and DK still produced. So, I mean, again, I feel a little more safer there with that situation. But let's talk about the honorable mention list here. Here's some other guys that I had. Marquise Brown. I mean, these guys were like right on the outside. Look, I wanted to put them in so bad, but I made this 10 receivers because I really wanted to try to target these to try to help some people out. Because this is hard. I mean, it's very complicated when you get in those, you're in the third to like the sixth round. And you're like, shit, like all these guys seem good. All of them aren't going to produce like they should. Which one should we be on and why? And this is what I'm here for. This is why we're doing this. All right, so we've got Marquise Hollywood Brown for Arizona. He has a rapport with Kyler Murray, right? They played college football together. He's had a great season last year. Kyler Murray throws a pretty good ball. DeAndre Hopkins is out 6 weeks. Marquise Brown could have easily landed on this list. I even have some reserves still in my head. I mean, you could pretty much on this list. Oh, Drew, thanks for mentioning Godwin. Not fading Godwin at all. If he falls to the ADP that I like, I take Godwin. He's not on my list only because I don't know what the hell is going on with the injury with him. They give such mixed messages about one day he's looking great. The next day they're dialing back his practice. Is he going to be completely healthy? Will he miss the first 4 games of the season? There's just so many questions about Godwin. And honestly, I kind of mix it up for him. Godwin usually falls pretty well. I'll tell you, let's see, his current ADP in the fantasy championship for Godwin is actually 58. He actually goes behind Michael Thomas, Mooney, even Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, and those guys. So I think it was fair for me to kind of leave him out. But don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not saying don't draft Godwin. For his ADP, I think it still makes sense. And hell, even if he's out 4 games, I still think he can produce. There's a lot of weapons in that offense, though. I'm really intrigued on what Russell Gage is going to do in that offense because I think he's, extremely undervalued. I hate that he even went there. I wish Gage would have ended up somewhere else, to be honest with you, because I think he could have really done some damage on another team, and maybe he still will. You got Evans. They also signed freaking Julio. So, I really don't know how all the targets are going to shake out. All I know is when Chris Godwin is healthy, though, to me, that's the number one wide receiver I want on that team, if that makes sense. And I think that's fair for this segment. Next up, so Marquise Brown, going back to him, sorry. High-powered offense. He just looks the part as far as what Cliff Kingsbury loves to use and integrate and just do all these cool things with and scheme. And we know Kyler Murray has a knack for busted plays, which is where Marquise Brown made his money last year with Lamar. So, Marquise does come with some risk as well. He seems to have tons of soft tissue injuries all the time. That Cardinals offense could, to me, in my opinion, could easily just go to complete shit this year. That's my honest opinion about the Cardinals. There's so much behind the scenes junk that's going on over there. And, the players are talking bad about their quarterback. It's usually not a good situation, but we'll see what happens. I just think Marquise is in a really good situation, but I didn't put him on here. All right, Brandon Cooks, another guy who was very close to making the list. Could have easily stuck him on here as well. I just don't understand their offense. It seems to me anytime Lovie Smith took over a football team, the offenses seemed to digress. Maybe I'm off a little bit there. I don't think I am. But to me, anytime a regime of Lovey's has came in and the guys that he brings with him, I've seen nothing but digress from an offense. Maybe that's changing. Maybe he's learned some things. There's obviously some better leadership in the upper office. They do have some more talent on the team now. They did a pretty good job in the draft. They have Damian Pierce now. Looks like Nico Collins is kind of emerging as going to be a consistent, really good second wide receiver. I know there's some talk about Jordan, the tight end, there as well. We'll see if Davis Mills can take the next step. It's all going to come down to the scheme there and kind of what they're doing with their offense. I still think Cooks is safe. It's just it's hard to predicate. Cooks is a hard one he just always seems to get there, right? So I mean he's so underrated, and I'm sitting here telling you that as I have him outside of my top 10. Like, I'm a guy that has him underrated as well. The next one could have easily. There's probably tons of arguments, and he's one that I really think by the end of the season probably should have ended up on this list, is Amon St. Brown. I really struggled. I really struggled with this one. I think Amon is a super incredible talent. I don't know if you guys have been watching Hard Knocks. I think it's actually on right now, but incredible talent. The guy works his ass off. He'll be in his second year. He's learning how to be a pro a lot better. He'll understand the offense better. But they've added some stuff. You know, Hawkinson's really emerging as a true tight end one for that team. They also landed DJ Chark this year, which I think he's going to have a role in that offense. You had Cephas and Reynolds, and there's another guy, I can't think of his name right now. They have a slew of decent wide receivers on that team. And, you know, Goff, I know the way Goff targeted him at the end of last season. I'm just not sure if that target share is going to carry over into this season. I mean, this is one way to look at it too. Amon had 119 targets, 90 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. But here's something that's crazy: is he had 56 of 119 targets all in the last 5 weeks of the season. So I'm not sure what change. I know they were banged up last year with injuries. So I'm not sure if that had something to do with it. Now I do think the Lions will be playing from behind a lot. They also play a lot of high-powered offenses in their division with the Vikings and with the Packers. Are, you know, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there. I'm actually talking myself to wanting to put him on the damn list. To be honest with you, I think I'm just confused about. I'm really confused about what could be and what actual reality will be for him. Because there's just a lot of unknown with that team as they continue to grow. And let's take a look here. I could tell you guys what RT Sports has predicted for him. And he is 16. He's predicted at 92 receptions, 1,013 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So they're giving him a big jump from 5 to 8 touchdowns. They're giving him 2 more receptions than he had last year and about 1,000 more yards. So, I mean, if he produces that, he's, you know, obviously in a good situation. Give me your thoughts on Amon, guys. I mean, he's a tough one to kind of. I mean, he really is one that had my mind boggled. I actually had him on this list about 2 or 3 different times. Who is the one they call Christo? Oh, you're talking about the admin at RTS, Preston? Tell me your thoughts on Amon, guys. What do you guys think about that situation? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. I just don't feel super safe. I just feel like I would rather take other. I mean, listen, I've drafted him a couple of times. He's kind of fell to me in a couple of different situations, and then there was a couple of situations where I just was going something different in my head with strategy. But I mean, I'm not sure where Amon will end up. It's almost like too good to be true, if that makes sense. But then you got Elijah Moore as well. And I'll tell you about the last 2 guys I have here, Elijah Moore and Christian Kirk. So Elijah Moore's ADP has really gone up, actually, lately. He's at the 70.70 one position in the fantasy championship drafts. He played 11 games last year, 43 receptions on 77 targets, 538 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, listen, I am all for. I think Elijah Moore will have a decent season pending health, because he himself he will get banged up and have nagging stuff. And then on top of them too, like, who's gonna be the quarterback there? Like, I have confidence enough in Flacco. I think Flacco's fine. But Flacco gets injured too. And how long is Zach Wilson gonna be out? And even if Zach Wilson plays, I don't think anybody's 100% sure if he's actually the guy that's gonna, be able to get the job done there. He's had some regression in some areas too, but to be fair to him, I mean, a lot of it's out of his control as well. But in saying that, I think Christian Kirk, in my opinion, will outscore Elijah Moore. I think he's going to be the number one wide receiver target in that offense by a mile. I think Trevor Lawrence loves his type of skill set and a wide receiver. I think Christian Kirk is very undervalued. Christian Kirk's going another round and a half, 2 rounds later. Christian Kirk's actually going at the 87, so he's going 17 spots below Elijah Moore. And see, guys, this is what you need to be focused on. This is what you need to be looking at in fantasy football drafts: is similar skill set, similar talent. Who you think's going to be in the better situation, and who do you think's going to produce more, and which one's ADP is higher? I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build points on points on points on points, racks on racks, right? So, I think Christian Kirk is a good assessment to kind of put there with Elijah Moore. And I think Christian Kirk's going to outscore him. He goes 17 picks later. So that's me. No, I didn't say it. I'm not saying he's a wide receiver one. I do think he'll be the number one targeted wide receiver in the offense. Well, it's not just Flacco too, Preston. I mean, it's Elijah Moore too. Don't forget, I mean, Elijah Moore missed 6 games last season. So it's not just Flacco, and it's not just Zach Wilson, and it's not the fact that Becton's missing the whole season, that their O-line sucks. And who knows what's going to happen with their running game. Is it going to be decent? I mean, there are major questions. Who do you think's going to produce above? Who do you think's producing? You think Marvin Jones or Zay Jones is going to outproduce Christian Kirk? Okay. You may be right. I don't think you're anywhere close on it. But I think Christian Kirk is going to be the number one producing wide receiver in that offense. I think it's just going to come down to targets. I mean, I really do. I think, and Christian Kirk I think Christian Kirk's phenomenal. I really do. Exactly, Drew. Exactly. So, thank you, Todd. Appreciate it, buddy. Hey, and this is why we're doing it, Todd. Listen, I know everyone's not going to agree with me, and that's okay. And I promise you, some of these I'll get wrong. Like, this is what we do, though. I'm putting it out here for you guys. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to break things down the best way that I can from what I'm doing and what I believe in. And I'm giving you guys my honest thoughts on things. And you guys most of you guys have drafted with me, so I'm not blowing any steam. I'm not being like some of the other sites giving you a bunch of players to throw out there, and these aren't guys that I'm drafting. Like, trust me, you guys will see all of my teams, and most of you have. You've been, you're in drafts with me, so I'm not hiding anything. And I'm telling you right now, Christian Kirk, I think will have 80 to 90 receptions this year, around 1,100 yards, and I think he'll be anywhere from 6 to 7 touchdowns, and that screams value at where he's going. Yeah, for sure, Todd. this is where it's at, man. This is exactly what I wanted with you guys. Heck yeah. I love the debate part of it because listen, I'm not going to be right on all this stuff. I'll be the first to say that. I'm not one of these narcissistic fantasy football experts or whatever the hell you want to call me. I'm just trying to give you honest information, and I'm in all the big time money league drafts, guys. So trust me, I'm seeing the ADPs fluently and all those things. Yeah, Drew, me too. I want to say AC has a ton. I want to say Aaron has a ton of Deontay Johnson. I think it was him that was saying that. So I mean, I think that might pay off for him. All right, guys, but I'm going to wrap up this episode. We've ran over time here a little bit, but that's okay. I'm not worried about the time. We've been on an hour and 20 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. I'll be trying to break down some more stuff for you guys as we get closer to the season here over the next few weeks. Excuse me. I'm looking at doing another draft review with an open mic session on Thursday or Friday. I'll update you guys. But listen, make sure you join RTS, realtimefantasysports.com. Use the code in the description. If you're a new registered new user for the site, you will get a 50% instant match bonus up to $500, and that's insane, guys. Absolutely insane. Thanks, Basil. Hey, thanks, Preston. Appreciate you too, buddy. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate all you guys. And make sure if you're in the Discord over for Real Time Fantasy Sports to post some things that you guys would like to talk about that you're struggling with in your drafts and stuff under the Kier channel in the Discord. Also, make sure to like the video. Make sure to share. And we're trying to get the subscriptions up more and more, guys. But this is a sponsored stream by Real Time Fantasy Sports and Draft Hero, the #1 drafting tool with any of your leagues this season. And we'll be talking more and more about those two platforms each and every show. Hope you guys enjoy the stream. Good luck to you in your drafts. And I'll see you guys at the end of the week with an open mic session. Yes, I can. Let me drop that Discord for you. I think I'm still logged in over there. Let me see 1 second. I hope this works. It should. Try that link right there. That should take you straight to the Real Time Sports. And I'm telling you guys, the best platform, the best drafting software on the planet. Like, I absolutely love RT Sports. This is where I grew in my fantasy football career. And I play on many different platforms, but this has always been my home one. Hope you guys enjoyed once again. Good luck to you in your drafts, and I'll see you guys at the end of the week. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. I do appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe. Hey, y'all have a good one, everybody.
In the back, bust on the road, but I got back on track. Baby switching, I'm knowing the cap. I got back up, so no one won't scrap. Can put us on safety, we power like a strap.
Pull up to door, my lover. Do what I want, I'ma do it forever. Yeah. I want it all, nothing less. I could do what he do, but I'm doing it better. Yeah. Mix match the chrome with Marshall. I can say what I want, I don't